Today, we're going to talk about a man who really is a study in contrasts. He saved a city, lost absolutely everything in the process, and then, against all odds, single-handedly built its legacy. This is the incredible story of Colonel John Mitchelburne, the true defender of Londonderry. Right from the start, you get a sense of the man from his own words. That crimson flag he mentions wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was a message, a powerful symbol of defiance from a man and a city that absolutely refused to break. So who was this guy? What turns a man into the kind of unshakable defender a city needs when it's on the very brink of collapse? Well, to figure that out, we've got to rewind the clock back to a time before the siege even began. You see, to really get Mitchelburne the hero, you first have to understand Mitchelburne the soldier. His actions during the siege, well, they weren't some fluke, some random act of bravery. They were the culmination of a long, distinguished military career. By the time things really kicked off in 1688, Mitchelburne was already a pro, with 17 years of hard-won experience under his belt. I mean, we're talking service in France, in Tangier. This guy had been seasoned by conflict. So when he arrived in Ireland, he wasn't some rookie. He was a hardened veteran, ready for whatever was coming his way. And he wasn't a stranger to the city he would end up defending either. He'd been stationed there before, and he actually wrote about how well he was treated, noting the civilities of the town. This wasn't just a random assignment for him. There was already a mutual respect there, a bond that would soon prove absolutely critical for survival. So you've got this foundation, right? Decades of military experience combined with local trust. Mitchelburne was basically perfectly positioned for what would become his defining moment. And when the siege began, his skills immediately made him indispensable. And it wasn't long before leadership was, well, thrust upon him. When the city's governor, Major Baker, was on his deathbed, he was asked who should take his place. He had only one name, John Mitchelburne. And just like that, from June 30th on, the entire defense of the city rested squarely on his shoulders. His strategy, it was brutally, beautifully simple. No, surrender. That's it. It didn't matter what they faced, starvation, disease, constant cannon fire. Mitchelburne's resolve was a rock. It never, ever wavered. But you have to understand that no-surrender policy came at a staggering personal cost. This wasn't some abstract military strategy for him. During the siege, Mitchelburne had to watch his own wife and every single member of his family inside the city walls die from starvation and disease. And yet, somehow, he held the line. This resolve led to one of the most intense moments of the entire siege. The enemy general, de Rosen, tried a cruel tactic. He rounded up hundreds of innocent Protestant civilians and drove them to the city walls, leaving them there to starve to death to break morale. Mitchelburne's response was, well, it was ruthless and it was brilliant. He built a huge gallows right where the enemy could see it and threatened to hang 21 of their captured commanders. It was a bluff, maybe, but de Rosen folded instantly. The civilians were freed. It was exactly this kind of leadership that got him noticed at the highest level. After the siege was finally lifted, a letter arrived from King William III himself, praising the eminent and extraordinary service of the city's defenders. Talk about recognition from the top. So at this point, you're thinking, okay, Mitchelburne is a celebrated war hero who saved an entire city. His life from here on out is going to be one of honor, rewards, parades, right? Yeah, you'd be wrong. What happened next is a shockingly different story. The contrast is it's jarring. On one hand, you have the siege hero getting praise from the king himself, but the post-siege reality, he was denied key positions, he was kicked out of public office basically for trying to get his soldiers the pay they were owed, and he was left facing absolutely catastrophic financial losses. And the scale of the financial injustice was just staggering. Mitchelburne had fronted his own money to buy supplies and pay the garrison during the siege. A House of Commons committee even confirmed that over £15,000 was owed to the defenders, an astronomical sum back then. But Mitchelburne never saw a single penny of it repaid. And then it gets worse. The man who refused to surrender Londonderry, the man who lost his entire family defending that city, was eventually arrested and thrown into Fleet Prison in London. The charge? Debt. The very same debts he took on to help save the city in the first place. The irony is just heartbreaking. But this is where the story takes its final incredible turn. Because despite all of it, the neglect, the financial ruin, the prison time, Mitchelburne didn't spend the rest of his life in bitterness. Instead, he dedicated himself to making sure the story of the siege would never, ever be forgotten. He literally became the architect of the city's memory. He took the captured enemy flags and had them hung in the cathedral for everyone to see. He's the reason crimson became the official color of the city. He formed the very first Apprentice Boys Club and organized the earliest anniversary celebrations. He almost single-handedly built the traditions that still define the city's identity today. And this dedication lasted his entire life. In his will, he left a sum of money specifically for the perpetual maintenance of that crimson flag on the cathedral. He wanted to make absolutely sure that the symbol of defiance he raised would continue to fly long, long after he was gone. So that's the question we're left with, isn't it? John Mitchelburne's life is this story of incredible contrast. A hero celebrated in war, only to be tossed aside in peace. But through his own sheer force of will, he made sure that his actions and the sacrifices of his city would become immortal. He didn't just win a siege, he wrote its memory into the very soul of the city.